This is how to change an Aprilia RSV4 from stock wheels to a set of BST carbon fiber wheels. Finally, after over 5,300 miles, the tires are ready to change, which means the wheels are able to be changed. After the ride this morning, I noticed a series of kind of cracks and flaws in the tire. You can see that regardless of me trying to hit some turns, it's still getting a pretty good flat worn out, which is starting to show through and getting dangerously low. There's still tread left, but you know, you can see it's getting pretty close. None of them are worn out, so it's not worth taking a risk and blowing a tire out. I'm gonna go ahead and change them out. These BST carbon fiber wheels have been sitting here waiting. They were ordered for the previous Aprilia, which unfortunately was killed in a deer hunting accident. So I've had these just waiting for the tire to wear off. And now that it's worn, I can go ahead and swap them out. I'm gonna start with the rear wheels. With it up on the stand, the first thing to do is loosen and remove the axle nut. There's a nut and a washer behind it. Make sure you capture both. I'm going to pound the axle gently through to the other side. Just pull the axle out. Capture the block just like it was. Set that down where it'll be safe. And now let the wheel gently go down. Let's see how that. Pull it out of the brake. Get the chain off. Try to get the chain off of this sprocket. Slip out of that rear brake. There we go. Pull the wheel out. The BST wheel comes with a new sprocket because it fits the hub differently, but there's no rotor on it. So I'll need to take the rotor and the ABS indicator off of this wheel and put it on the new one. Loosening the star pattern. Looks like there's some Loctite on these screws. The new wheel came with its own fasteners, so I'll just put Loctite on these and get them ready. I'll take those old ones and put them back in the wheel once I get that rotor and indicator off. Now I'm going to take these off as a pair. They're two separate parts, but I'll just take them over here. Put them on the new piece. And now I'll just simply start inserting the screws. Once I get one lined up, should be easy. Properly torque every screw. Make sure it's tight enough, but not too tight. Don't want stuff vibrating loose. Worked. And we see that this has a cush mount. That piece that goes in there, and what we'll do, put the wheel in first. I don't put that in. So I'm going to line up the brake disc properly. Okay, so that's happy. I'm going to take the sprocket carrier, put it on the chain, and then bring it up to where it fits in. There, okay. Those are in, that spacer's in there. All right, I'm gonna grease the axle before I put it through there. All right, so on this side, I'm lining it up, swing arm, and then through the brake bracket. So you've got the axle through its block, through the swing arm. Make sure that it goes through the caliper bracket into the wheel. Your caliper is on the brake disc, and then you're just lining this up to get the axle to go through. Now this is all the way in. Bracket's in there good. The block is in there good. I did not mess with the axle adjusters at all. I'm going to the same sprocket size. So these should be fine just as they are. I'll check the chain slack when I'm done, but they should be okay if I leave them alone. Same with this side. I didn't mess with the axle adjuster. I just put the block through, and now I'm going to put the nut on, and then I'll check the chain to be sure. Now I want to make sure, because I didn't mess with the adjusters, that the block is all the way forward on both sides before I start tightening it. And even when I start tightening it, I want to make sure that there's still no gap in there, that it's perfectly straight. Torqued, no gap up against, no gap up against. Here we have rotation of the tire and rotation of the wheel, and everything matches up on the hubs and that, so we know we're good. Rear carbon fiber wheel is now installed. Everything's tight. I'm going to check the chain once I get everything done, but it looks pretty slick. I like it. The first thing I'm going to do is just break this nut loose before I loosen any of the pinch bolts or anything else. Okay, that's loose. Now for this, I'm going to put a front stand on here. I don't need the stem stand that goes up there. I just need one that goes at the bottom of the forks for this. I'll remove the nut and the washer behind it. Now I want to loosen the pinch bolts on both of the forks. You want to loosen each bolt a little at a time. So first just a little partial turn on one, a little partial turn on the other. So not either one of them has too much torque on it. I'll do that on this side next. Now I want to support the wheel as I take this axle out. Just slips out. With this being a dual disc, I can't just pull the wheel straight out. I'm going to have to take the calipers loose to get the wheel out. And slip the calipers off the wheel. Okay. And don't lose your two washers there. And do the same thing on the other side. All right, now that we have both calipers loose, we gently settle down the wheel to the ground. Remove the spacers. Now pull the wheel out. Now we want to remove the rotor on both sides. The rotors do have a directional arrow on it, and so do the tires. So you want to make sure that you get that correct. You also want to make sure that you have the sensor ring on the proper side as well. So I know this one is going that way. Let's check this one. There's the rotation arrow pointing that way, and also on the wheel as well. So this orientation like that is going to be the same as that one is. Now that we have the orientation of the two wheels and tires the same, we can start taking the rotors off. This is not a 5-bolt, it's a 6-bolt, but we can still do kind of a star-like pattern just for good habits. Left rotor's off, right rotor and speed sensor, and the bolts are all out. You can see they also have Loctite on. It's clearly red. I used blue on the rear rotor. Less concerned about that. These do probably heat up more, and so I'll go ahead and use red Loctite up here when I put them on the new wheel. Red Loctite in place on all the bolts. And the rotor says turn this way. The wheel says turn this way. And we already checked that the tire against the wheel on the other side says it. This side is on and torqued. Got this side on, and I'm just getting ready to torque this. Okay. All right, both sides are torqued and ready to put back in the bike. Now, I may need to lift this a little bit. I need to kind of guide these calipers into the wheel without banging anything up too bad. Okay, there's that one and that one. So the calipers are in. Just want to get the whole wheel in position so I can get the axle through it. Put a little bit of axle grease on this guy. Okay. Want to make sure that that axle is all the way in. Now I'll start putting the washer and the nut on this end of the axle to start capturing it. And eventually, as we turn it, it's going to start spinning the other side. You want to make sure that axle is all the way in so that you don't have any play in there. And then what we'll do is tighten these two, and it says right on there, the torque, 10 Newton meters. We'll tighten those two, and then we'll go back over here and we'll torque and tighten the nut, and then tighten these two pinch bolts as well. Again, you do a little bit on each one since they're pinch bolts and they're both going to the same spot. You don't want to overdo one versus the other. Okay, they're torqued. I have the pin all the way in. I have these two bolts properly torqued, pinching it. And now with these two still loose, I'm going to torque that axle nut and then torque these two guys. Okay. That's torqued there. I can go back and torque these guys. Torqued. Okay. Since I don't need the front end elevated anymore, I'm going to go ahead and take it down off the stand, and then I'll finish the calipers. And don't forget, we had those two spacers. Don't forget those when you reassemble it. Really torque them. Okay, that's good. We'll go to the other side. And now the front end's all complete. Everything's tightened and torqued properly. So we've got our set of BST wheels installed. I'm going to check the air pressure before I take it out on the road, but looks like everything should be ready for a test drive. 28.8. 26.8 pounds with just the sprocket, no rotor. 15.8. Front wheel carbon fiber, 15 pounds.
Subscribe to my YouTube channel below and let's celebrate turning fuel and air into adrenaline.